Well, friends, thanks so much for joining us. As always, we do appreciate it. We have a very exciting call for you today. We've got Gerald Celente from the Trends Research Institute and, of course, the Trends Research Journal on the line, as well as our contributor, Mark S. Mann. Gerald, thanks for joining us. How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I'm fine.
Awesome. Mark, how you doing, man?
Good to see you guys.
Well, it's really great to talk to you guys. And Mr. Celente, what I thought we should do today is focus on the threat, because that is what the mainstream Mockingbird propaganda media wants us to do, is focus on the ISIS threat. I'm looking at The Intercept, and I just want to read a passage for you guys. Of course, on the cover of the Daily News, ISIS will be here soon, Saudi king says, warns of imminent threat, leaders urged to act now or else. Sounds like problem, reaction, solution to me. Let me just read you this passage. In a new Islamic State video, a bearded fighter speaking fluent British accented English describes UK Prime Minister David Cameron as a despicable swine and calls for terrorist attacks against the West. Now, as a result of this, you guys, what's happened is late last month, the United Nations Security Council passed a resolution aimed at prescribing the ability of foreign fighters to travel and mobilize. It has been designed broadly enough to give member states what is essentially a blank check to stifle dissident movements of all types. Does this ring any bells for you guys? I mean, as you've always said, Gerald, when all else fails, they take you to war. And that seems to be what's going on here. And now they're telling us we're going to get hit by ISIS here at the homeland any minute.
Well, let's go back to the beginning of what you wrote. The first one was about Saudi Arabia and the ISIS threat. And were they going to be a threat to the Saudis? I mean, the Saudis only beheaded, 22 people in August? ISIS only got 2. So, I mean, and this whole beheading thing. How many people has the United States military murdered since the war on terror began? Depending on whose numbers you're looking at, between Afghanistan and Iraq, we're looking at over 1 million. Hey, how many countries has that Nobel Peace Prize winner bombed Obama in his 6 years? Oh, only 7. Hey, yeah, but kill them with drones, blow them to pieces with bombs, and that's okay. Hey, how about what just happened over there in Gaza? 2,100 people, mostly women, children, and the elderly, were killed, were bombed. Bombing's okay, but beheading's bad, and everybody bought the BS. And did you hear that little clown Pinetta, or Pinata he should be, because somebody should hang that little creep up and bang him around, the former CIA and Pentagon chief, one of these little boys that likes to start fights but never could fight one? Oh yeah, we're going into a 30-year war. Empty out your pockets. The military-industrial complex wants your money and your life. How much clearer does it have to be? Oh, and what did that guy, if you could repeat what he wrote about Cameron or said?
Yeah, a bearded fighter speaking fluent British accented English. I should remind everybody, and I do want to point out that even the Telegraph said that the original Foley murder video may have been staged, but of course the Mockingbird media never talks about that. The bearded fighter said, despicable swine. He said,
well, I agree with him. I think Cameron's a despicable swine. And I think Bush is a despicable swine. And I think Cheney is a despicable swine, and Blair and Obama and the Clintons and all the rest of these mass murderers that start wars based on fake reasons and slaughter innocent people. Why can't anyone call a spade a spade? These are how I forgot Sarkozy and little boy Hollande. Yeah, you remember going into Mali to get them militants. Yeah, I tells you. Oh, yeah, the place that used to be French Indochina. You colonial swines. Stay home, mind your own business. And the other thing, speaking about slime and robbing us of our rights under the guise that Hades, ISIS could be anywhere, melted into society, and we gotta get them and we gotta watch them, and we have to rob you of all your rights. NSA, CIA, FBI, you name it, they're watching us, they're looking, Homeland Security. These morons couldn't stop a guy from jumping over the White House fence and running inside and they're gonna ransack the joint. Who are they kidding? They're the inepts and the incompetents. When are people gonna wake up that the same jerks that are running City Hall are running the countries into the ground? How much more evidence do you need? Mark over there is a close combat guy like I am. This thing never would have happened with the people that we know that would be guarding the White House. And look what they can't, the most protected building in the United States. And a guy that can't even run fast, man, jumps over the fence. Whoof, he's in there and running through the joint before they could stop him. So who are they kidding with this stuff? They're losers. Add them up. Anybody that can count to 5. They lost the Korean War. They lost the Vietnam War. Oh, yeah, but we only killed 3 million people in Vietnam, they says, and we only dumped Agent Orange all over the joint. If you gave us a couple of more years, oh, yeah, like the longest war in American history, the Afghan War. Yeah, like that. We could have killed maybe another 10 million. Oh, and then, of course, the Afghan War, the Iraq War. How about that humanitarian mission by Obama that destabilized Libya, overthrew a sovereign country, and has caused the creation of these militant groups? A militant group, by the way. A militant group. Let me ask you this question. Let's pretend that you're an Iraqi. And let's pretend that another country started a war in your country based on fake reasons, lies, and your whole family was slaughtered. Your city is destroyed. Most of your friends and loved ones are dead. You think you want to get even? Do you think you'd want to get even?
We talk about all the time. We talk about that all the time, Gerald. And a lot of people can't put themselves in those shoes because they're blinded by false patriotism. And they just, like you said, guys like us would never allow it. We would do everything we could to even the score. But you talk about timelines.
Well, go back to that. Let's stay on that a second.
Okay, sure.
You said that, they're blinded by patriotism. No, they're not. They're cowards. They're cowards. Because they can never imagine themselves fighting back. Terrorists.
I agree with you. I definitely.
How about, like we used to say in the Bronx, payback's a bitch.
Absolutely. And the thing is, too, they can never turn the mirror back on themselves. They won't even look in the mirror to consider the crap that their own country does to create terrorists. We talk about that all the time at SGT, how, maybe there are some people that do want to hurt the United States, but why are they doing that? People just can't really grasp that at all.
Well, if I may, you guys, I want to jump in and I want to just remind everybody that it was Prince Bandar bin Sultan who told Russian President Vladimir Putin that the Arab kingdom has control over the Chechen jihadists, and he threatened the Olympic Games in Sochi if Putin didn't back war against Syria. So now we've come full circle, right? The Telegraph says the beheading videos of Foley may be faked. The mainstream media ignores it. Nevertheless, we hear the rallying cry for more war, more war, more war. And enough is enough, Gerald. Enough is enough. But unfortunately, the American people forget. The American people don't realize that that's what happened with Prince Bandar, as the intelligence trifecta of the Mossad, U.S., and Saudi intelligence works against the world to take us into another war.
And then you have the propaganda by the media on a daily basis, demonizing the Russians and everything else. It's disgusting.
Oh, by the way, we're talking about the Russians. I'm going to Russia to attend a peace conference. I was just asked to go there. I'm one of the few guys speaking out for peace. And as you may know, we're going to be holding an Occupy Peace conference here on May 2nd. We have permission from the city of Kingston to close down the intersection at John and Crown Street. You've been here, Mark, that the the most historic corner in the United States. The roots of the revolution and democracy was sown here. And with occupied peace, we're going to have takeaways. This isn't just going to be a rally to go to and scream and yell. We're going to have action plans to put in place so we stop this madness. 30-year war, this clown Pinhead are talking about. Who's he kidding? 30-year war. Was he reading fairy tale history books? The next war may be the last war. Wars of weapons of mass destruction. Nuclear wars. Wars of biological warfare. Suitcase-sized nukes. Dirty bombs. This little jerk. And anyway, when we're talking about what's going on, I wrote this book in 1996, Trends 2000. Listen to the Commander-in-Chief's last speech to the nation. He said basically, we're going to war, and here's his quote, against the Islamic State. That gives you a name really to hate, right? Hey, an Islamic State. Let's hate them Islamists or Muslims. Very cleverly done. I wrote this again 14 years ago. The seeds of the new crusades was sown in areas of Africa, the Middle East, Eastern Europe, and Asia. Throughout the Muslim world, devout masses, politically repressed and impoverished, were rising up against their endemically corrupt and inefficient secular governments with their pro-Western alliances. Imperialism, directly or indirectly, took the blame for the poverty, the lack of opportunity, and the social and moral decay. Disenfranchised, desperate, politically powerless, Muslims in many countries look to charismatic clerics to change their destiny. And I go on to write about Crusades 2000 will begin in the new millennium. Obama officially launched it on September 10th when he used the eve before 9/11 to put more fear and hysteria into the minds and bodies of the American people.
Well, that's powerful. And, you mentioned 9/11, and as I'm sitting here listening to you read that, Gerald, of course, I'm thinking of the classified 28 pages of the 9/11 report, which apparently finger the Saudi intelligence involvement in the event of 9/11 to some degree, but we don't know because they won't release the 28 pages. But again, we talk about this access, this trifecta of power, the Mossad, U.S. intelligence, British intelligence, Saudi intelligence, working together. I mean, who created the Saudis, right? Who controls the Saudis? And yet it's the Saudis that continue to beat the drums of ISIS is coming to your homeland, so you better, give up your rights to fight ISIS. Mark, I know you wanted to ask Gerald a question about how the world power here, led by the U.S., is surrounding Russia.
Yeah, it seems that NATO is really disintegrating, in my opinion, most likely because of the way the U.S. just alienates all our allies. But specifically Germany, don't you see them kind of positioning themselves away from the United States and NATO, Gerald? What do you see happening with Germany right now?
Well, Germany just announced they're sending troops. They're sending troops, I believe, to train in Ukraine troops. And I don't know if it's true. It was one of the quick reports I read. But in looking at it, they all want to break away from the United States, but they're all tied to us. And the United States is still pulling the strings. And when you look at the sanctions, at a time when the global economy is slowing down, again, only inept and incompetence would do such a thing. This is going to hurt trade, which is already soft in the European Union, and it's going to hurt Russia. It's going to hurt everybody. Sanctions, by the way, are an act of war. And all anyone has to do to see the truth is to go to that videotape of Victoria Nuland, our Assistant Secretary of State, December 13th, 2013, put it on YouTube, and listen to her at the Washington Press Club, sponsored by Chevron and Exxon.
Since Ukraine's independence in 1991, the United States has supported Ukrainians as they build democratic skills and institutions, as they promote civic participation and good governance, all of which are preconditions for Ukraine to achieve its European aspirations. We've invested over $5 billion to assist Ukraine in these and other goals.
Telling the crowd that the future with Ukraine is Europe, that Ukrainians are Europeans, which is news to, I'm sure, to a lot of them, and that the path that they should follow is the one set forth by the IMF. Could not be clearer.
Gerald, what do you see as a timeline for hostilities in terms of the start of World War III, and give some possible trigger points there?
Syria, it's already started. Last week, Turkey announced that they are going basically to war against Syria, but they don't use that kind of language. You know, we have to go inside a little bit to protect our borders. And we got to put a no-fly zone over the joint so that we could make sure that them good peoples aren't being killed by those bad Syrians. Kind of sounds like Libya, doesn't it? It's Gallipoli 2.0. Hardly made the news. Could you imagine, let's just turn this around. Could you imagine Canada coming, if they had problems with the United States, say, listen, you know, we're coming into Michigan and we're going straight through to Oregon. We got to seal more of your borders to protect ourselves. And we're going to put a no-fly zone over the United States. You know, stop them flies from coming in. It'll be good for you. Who would tolerate it? It's war. Another war, by the way, going back, that the Saudis, the Arab Little League, started against Syria. It's the Sunnis against the Shia. It's about oil, by the way, the bottom line. The pipelines going through Syria. Oh, and this is big news. Since June, Brent crude has fallen from $115 a barrel to almost $90 a barrel. I've been watching the oil since 1973 when I used to work for the chemical industry, and I was at meetings when they had the oil embargo in D.C. This is the first time the Saudis have come out and said since then to stop production, slow production, cut production. This is huge. This isn't a market manipulation. This is a signal of the global slowdown. China's going through a recession. Their real estate bubble has popped. I'm looking at numbers where they're showing 70 million vacant luxury apartments in China. You're looking at real estate prices after going up, the real estate market's growing 26% in 2013, already down the first quarter, almost 8%. Consumption of oil is down. It's not oversupply. Yes, there's more supply on the market, but demand is way off. Go back to the Saudis. Their economies are collapsing. They need the dough. They all do. And the only way they get the dough is through high oil prices. And they're going south. So the further south they go, the hotter the wars heat up. Remember, as you mentioned, when all else fails, they take you to war.
Yeah, and I just want to say this too, guys. I don't want to beat this to death, but it needs to be said. Again, the beheading videos. The Telegraph comes out and says, these may be fake. The Mockingbird media will not address that. And now we're dropping bombs on Syria, which previously the American people were not for. A year ago, we said hell no to more war with Syria, and Obama stopped talking about it. And now by proxy, through these beheading videos, they've got us dropping bombs on Syria. And what are they dropping bombs on? Syrian oil refineries.
Yeah, I know.
Assad's infrastructure.
I know.
Anybody paying attention knows this.
Oil. You know?
Anybody paying attention knows this is about getting Assad and destroying Assad and toppling Assad. This is not about ISIS. ISIS is a creation of the intelligence trifecta. That's my opinion. Do you agree?
No, of course. That's what I said when you listen to Obama's September 10th speech. You're 100% correct. And they're using ISIS as a front. And again, all right, let's even suppose they cut the guy's heads off and it's real. As I said, It's okay to bomb people, blow them little kitties to bits. Did you see those photos of dead children in Gaza?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all right, man.
Yeah.
Hey, they was human shields. Oh yeah, you knew that if they were, which most reports say they weren't, you're still gonna slaughter them. So, but anyway, bomb the hell out of people all over Iraq and Afghanistan. So what? The drones blew up a wedding party. We didn't behead them. We're sophisticated. I got an idea. Maybe if ISIS would get some guillotines, it would be a lot cleaner and nicer, and no one would get upset.
Well,
listen, propaganda is a good business to get into. Mm-hmm. You could do it cheaply, and you get great results.
But you know why I'm upset? And I'm upset because the American people aren't upset about this. They buy the propaganda, Gerald, and then they tell us, the Pentagon tells us, well, we need to kill the children to save the children. I mean, it's also transparent if you're paying attention at all. This isn't about the children. This isn't about spreading democracy. This isn't about stopping terror in the homeland. This is about the Zygmunt Brzezinski, Henry Kissinger grand chessboard, which we know about. We've known about it since 9/11, when that event woke us all up. And that's what this is about. Feel free to jump in on that, but I just want to point out we have 6 minutes left.
What it's
about
is what Eisenhower said when he left office in 1960. The Supreme Commander of the Allied Forces, a 5-star general, 2-term president, a man, a real commander-in-chief, not a little chump that plays basketball and golf, or like George Bushy riding his pickup truck, or Big Mouth Clinton. This is a real man that fought and knew how ugly war is. And he warned the American people as he's leaving office that the military-industrial complex is robbing the nation of the genius of the scientists, the sweat of the laborers, and the future of the children. How much more proof do we need? Look at these 2 wars that war criminals, Bush and Cheney and Rumsfeld, and a bunch of the others. Oh, I had a guy stop by with NPR. This guy starts, you should have been here, Mark. You would have liked this one. He said, you know, Hillary Clinton really had to vote for the Iraq war. She didn't want to. She had to. Because if a woman didn't vote for the war, it's a big white guy. He said, she would have been looked upon as weak, and it would have lost a lot of political credibility for her. And I'm sitting down and reading my newspaper out in front. I said, you can read her mind? He said, what do you mean? I said, you know what she was thinking? How about by their deeds you shall know them?
That's right.
He said, you doubting what I'm saying, what I think? I said, I don't care what you think. I didn't use that word. And I stood up and I said, you're a little coward. You're just like the rest of the people that shoot their mouths off and make excuses for war. You're nothing more than a coward, and you voted for murder when you vote for war. You're a close combat guy, Mark. You know we don't want to fight. The only way we fight is when our lives are threatened. And even then, you know that this thing could go anywhere. I don't care how good you are, how great you think you are. Anything could happen. You try to avoid a fight at all costs. But these little boys, these little Bushes, these little Blairs, these little Clintons, these little Obamas, none of these are men or women. They're cowards that have other people to go do their fighting, and they have put us on the path to continue World War III. And my forecast is it will follow the prophecy of Albert Einstein, who said, I do not know how World War III will be fought, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones. I want to fight for peace. I don't want to die for war.
They're liars, they're losers, and they're lunatics. And the thing that I love now that their people are pushing, all these military think tank people talking about limited nuclear war, limited nuclear exchanges. Like Like, yeah, we're going to launch a few and they're going to launch a few, and we're just going to sit back and leave it at that. Anybody that wants to know how crazy these people are, just thinking of something as stupid and asinine as a limited nuclear exchange should tell you everything you need to know. It's like saying almost pregnant, like we're just going to sit back and lob a few at each other and leave it at that. That should tell the level of lunacy that these people are capable of.
Well, it's insanity. It's absolute insanity. And as Gerald said, World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones. And God bless it. That's why we need to stand up, and we need to topple these people. We need to get them out of power, through the ballot box, or I don't know how else, Gerald, but we need to take this world back, not just our country. We need to take the world back from this entity which is consuming humanity's grace and consuming humanity's benevolence and consuming humanity, period. They're eating us alive, and we need to take it back. I know we have to let you go, Gerald. We're up against the clock. You have another interview. I want to thank you so much for your time, and please tell people how they can subscribe and get your great information from the Trends Journal.
Trendsjournal.com. Trendsjournal.com. We have a conference coming up. Again, one of our History Before It Happens conferences on October 17th. We'll have other ones coming up as well. And we also do Trends in the News each night, broadcasts of the real news that's going on, not the prostitute news that they're pushing out. And we also have a Trends Monthly now, besides the quarterly. So if you want to see history before it happens and prepare for what's coming ahead, I suggest you consider subscribing to the Trends Journal. And for those of you that are having tough financial times, as so many are, we have a discount request page. We try to make the Trends Journal available to everyone that wants to plan ahead. Thanks a lot, guys. Great being on.
All right, Gerald, thank you so much. And Mark, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. And thank you all for listening. Please do check us out at SGT Report and thelibertymill.com, and do check out the Trends Research Institute. Gerald Celente's been our guest. Thanks, Gerald.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. All right, thanks, gentlemen.
Bye-bye, guys.